Welcome to our journey into building tomorrow's workforce. This is Unveiling Future Careers, the CTE Showcase webinar series, which is made possible through funding by the BACCC and is presented by Workforce Innovation Labs, where education meets industry. WIL partners with colleges and regions across California to design, strengthen, and scale strategies that align learning with real-world careers. We're shining a spotlight on CTE excellence, best practices, and innovations ready for replication statewide. Every theme in this 6-part series is crafted to advance the Chancellor's 2030 Vision for Success. Today, in Webinar 1, we're diving into 3 game-changing topics: credit for prior learning, faculty development, and innovative pedagogies that power CTE pathways. Let's ignite these conversations and start a bold course for our students' futures. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Mari Morris, Project Manager for Workforce Innovation Labs, and your facilitator today. On the call, we also have Audrey Libador and Xavier Nazario, our managing partners here at Workforce Innovation Labs, as well as Manuela Garcia, our Project Management Assistant Extraordinaire. She's helping us out in the background. Thanks in advance, Manuela. Today, we have 3 exciting lightning presentations. And just know that we will be taking questions after each short presentation. So please submit any questions you have in the Q&A. You can share your name, the college, or your organization and your question. We'll address as many as we can during the Q&A segments. And if we don't get to your question, we'll be sure to share it with our presenters. And we will also share the best way to stay connected with our featured presenters in the post-webinar email. Lastly, please stay until the very end, where we will share an upcoming webinars and how to be among the first to register, so don't miss that. But are we ready? Without further ado, let me introduce our first presentation. We have a terrific team of credit for prior learning trailblazers, Dr. Narane McKeegan, Judy Fox, and Claudia Romo. Dr. McKeegan leads the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, bringing 19 colleges together to build data-driven, equitable pathways for learners. Judy Fox serves as a program manager for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, where she facilitates cross-campus collaboration, oversees and contributes to strategic initiatives to enhance workforce development across the region. And Claudia Romo, counselor and CPL lead for Rio Hondo College, who is passionately expanding credit opportunities for veterans, adult learners, and re-entry students. Please join me in welcoming this powerhouse trio.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that lovely introduction. We are honored to be here representing the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, the coordinating body for the LA 19 community colleges, and our regional credit for prior learning project, which is a round 8 strong workforce regional initiative. And we are delighted to share our work with all of you. It's a common problem across the state that too few students receive credit for what they already know, often retaking materials they've mastered in the real world. That's lost time, money, and opportunity, particularly for adult learners and working professionals. While we know CPL is a proven strategy to advance equity, improve completion, and support re-engagement, its potential can only be realized and structure and system-wide alignment. That's what this project set out to deliver. We had 5 primary goals. 1, to create a community of practice to lead CPL efforts across 19 institutions. Develop a clear implementation framework based on tiered readiness in collaboration with Competency-Based Education Network, otherwise known as CBAN, to collect and use data to inform the work of the community of practice, to provide professional development opportunities, and move colleges from initial scaled implementation through tailored collaborative support. This framework meets colleges where they are and provides the tools and mentorship to help them grow. Next is my remarkable colleague and co-lead for this regional initiative, Judy, who will share with you about our community of practice and tiered framework approach.
Judy, sorry, you were muted, so we'll take two on that one.
Yeah, sorry, I guess I unmuted myself. So thank you, Dr. McKeegan. This work could not happen in isolation. The community of practice that was formed included faculty, staff, administrators, and deans from across the LA 19 colleges. And it also included external knowledge partners from the Chancellor's Office, the California MAP Initiative, and other state leaders who helped us advance this work across California. Together, this cross-functional group ensured that CPL wasn't siloed, but rather integrated into enrollment, counseling, curriculum, and beyond. So these relationships fostered trust, accountability, and a shared commitment to student success. And now this community is a lasting regional asset. And at the heart of this work is a four-tiered progression model. These tiers reflect the initial, emerging, developed, and scaling stages of CPL implementation, and the colleges used this to identify their level of readiness, target appropriate supports, and to monitor their growth. This framework ensured that movement was not only possible, but also measurable. And because the implementation wasn't a one-size-fits-all, we're able to tailor the support while maintaining consistency. And Dr. McKeegan will share with you now how we use data to accomplish this.
Thank you, Judy. To guide our work, we conducted a landscape analysis across all 19 colleges. This gave us a data-informed starting point. At the end of the project, we conducted a pulse check to assess growth. These tools were essential. They helped us identify needs, allocate support, and track college-level progress across the region. Data turned individual anecdotes into institutional insight. Professional learning was a cornerstone of this initiative. We offered targeted training aligned with statewide CPL guidance and tailored to local contexts. This included faculty workshops, policy alignment session, peer-led presentations, and training through the MAP initiative, which provided additional tools and strategies to support implementation. As a result, colleges deepened internal capacity and accelerated implementation. This professional development effort ensured CPL was understood, valued, and actionable. We also created a robust support infrastructure, a regional CPL resource hub with practical tools and templates, a CPL mentorship network pairing early stage colleges with further along. This fostered peer learning, increased confidence, and reduced implementation barriers. It also created a model that other regions can adopt and expand. In fact, Rio Hondo exemplifies framework implementation and mentorship support. Up next is our exceptional colleague, Claudia Romo, counselor at Rio Hondo, to share more about CPL in action.
Thank you. Rio Hondo College came in towards the end of the emerging stage. We had ongoing institutional support from our administrators. We had our task force already created, and faculty engagement was already taking place. Faculty at Rio Hondo were already participating credit by exam, especially in the areas of automotive, heavy equipment, welding, engineering, technology. So it was a welcome transition to begin to assess prior learning with industry certifications, military transcripts, and portfolio reviews. So our foundation was set. As we moved into the developing stage, we increased our CPL offerings, including CIT, and GIS, and we continue to work with faculty. Faculty has been the proponent of supporting students' ability to earn credit for prior learning. And so my role as CPL lead is to assist faculty members in really removing all the barriers that are possibly available to students. As we move into our scaling, we are going to launch our website. We had a landing page, now we're going to have a website. We're going to continue with our outreach, and we're going to go ahead and continue working with faculty in developing CPL pathways in areas of automotive technology and music technology. Our faculty members that are part of our bachelor's degree are working closely with the CPL team to begin to develop those pathways from COA, AS into our bachelor's program, and then hopefully expand to other community colleges' bachelor's programs in our CPL pathways, as well as some CSUs. We're hoping to continue to be part of Lark's community of practice. We really appreciate the support that they have provided us, and we look forward to continue working on this effort at our college and across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, for your leadership with this impactful work and for supporting our regional initiative. As you can see, our biggest outcome is momentum. More colleges are progressing across tiers, faculty confidence increased, systems were put in place, and a culture of CPL has taken root and will continue to grow. Although the regional project concludes in June, the CPL community of practice in our region has elected to continue this collaborative effort. Lark's CPL framework works and it's scalable. Supported by Regional Resource Hub and our CPL mentorship program, the goals and the outcomes of this project have come full circle. We're ready to share it across the state and help other colleges adopt and adapt it. As a region, we're proud to lead this work and we're just getting started. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. McKeegan, Judy, and Claudia. I appreciate you sharing all the important work you're doing. It's really inspiring. We do have a few questions and time for them. Yay. So I would love to ask you these questions. We have one from the chat. Let's see. I represent a community college in the SF Bay area, and we have an ELL healthcare pathway grant in conjunction with our local adult schools. Has there been work examples anywhere else to think about CPL for those adult school students who want to enter an aligned CCC pathway? So I don't know if Claudia, or Dr. McKeegan.
So that's a pretty cool question to be asking, because I was just approached by the CWE Dean regarding an adult school partnership to bring in some of those students into our automotive CPL. We have not started that work yet. We are going to be starting in the fall.
Okay, cool. So more to come. So maybe we'll have to do an update to share. Thank you so much. And then one other question we've got are, what are the most common types of prior learning being assessed, and how do you ensure fairness and academic rigor in awarding credit? So maybe this one is for Claudia too.
It is a faculty process. Faculty determine how they assess. They go off of their course outline. They make sure that the students meet all the learning outcomes. I am not part of that process. I depend on our faculty content experts to really assess the students' prior learning, and then let me know what we will approve or not approve. Faculty member meets with the students in all occasions and assess that prior learning.
Okay. And Claudia, one more. You are using the landing page for MAP initiative team for the website, or are you creating something separate from MAP?
So we haven't moved into the landing page from MAP yet. We had an old landing page that we created back in fall 2023 that was internal. And now we have a new revised college website, and we're getting our own location on the college's website. So we're excited to finalize that. We will continue to work with MAP in creating our landing page within that system, but our webmaster right now is working on our internal website.
Great, thanks for sharing. And lastly, and maybe this is to anyone on the team, but what advice would you offer to colleges that are in the earlier stages, like just starting to do CPL implementation?
Claudia, if you want to respond, and then I'll just share with you how we kind of approached the regional initiative.
If I could go back in time, I would work a lot sooner with our admissions and records system analysts to really figure out the transcribing process. We had some hiccups with transcribing, but our system analyst figured it out, and now we're able to transcribe all CPL methods that we had it in the past. So this is our first semester in the spring that we're transcribing military transcripts, credit by exam, portfolio, and industry certificates. But it took some time. So if I could go back in time, that's one of the recommendations I would have for myself is really figure out how you're going to get that done prior to bringing students on the petition process and engaging with faculty.
Absolutely. And I would just share that when we started this initiative and regional effort, we did share with all of our colleges, please be patient and know that we're going to help you no matter where you are within this ecosystem and help to lift you up with resources. We know that the challenges continue to be transcribing, and our partner Terrence from the MAP initiative is on today. And they've been trying to help us as we try to support our region with the transcribing piece as well. And as always, with any type of initiative that includes multiple individuals across the campus, the communication alignment as well as resources and personnel is a critical piece of it. And that's why we are so proud of this regional initiative, is because we're able to connect our colleagues to each other across the region, and that way they can elevate their work regardless of the type of resources and personnel they have on their campus.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And then, okay, I said it was one last question, but there really is one last question now for y'all. And this one is for Dr. McKeegan. Can you tell us more about what the regional investment was for this project?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we did fund each of our colleges $25,000 to be able to identify staff that would support the community of practice for this regional initiative. So it was about a $475,000 investment from our round 8 strong workforce funds.
Okay, well, it sounds like that was a investment well spent. I mean, I look forward to see what else comes from this initiative, but thank you so much for sharing the important work that you all are doing and clearly inspiring other regions as well. All right, so now it's time for our next segment. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Tina No Bartel, Executive Director of the San Diego Imperial Center of Excellence and the Strong Workforce Faculty Institute lead. For over a decade, Tina has translated rigorous regional research into professional learning programs, securing more than $50 million in grants to build equity-centered faculty development. Today, she will share how the Center of Excellence's data-driven insights are empowering faculty with the skills and strategies to elevate student outcomes. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Tina No Bartel.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you everybody for having me. Again, I'm Tina Bartel, and I run our Center of Excellence for the San Diego and Imperial region. Today, I'll walk you through our Strong Workforce Faculty Institute, a program that we developed in collaboration with our regional consortium. If you're not familiar with the Centers of Excellence, we serve our specific regions with research and training, and we primarily advocate on behalf of the needs of our employers and our students so that our system can better support them. I serve 10 colleges in the San Diego Imperial region, and we collaborate with them whenever we have any kind of regional or region-wide initiative. So before I go into the details of the Strong Workforce Faculty Institute, I want to take you back 5 years previously as to why we developed this professional development program in the first place. So in 2020, we saw that we were experiencing decreasing enrollments in the San Diego and Imperial region. And this was even before the pandemic hit. In 2018, program year 2018 to 2019, we saw a loss of 16,000 students across the entire region. So our enrollments were declining, and then the pandemic hit, and we lost 22% of our enrollments. So that's 1 out of 5 students that just dropped out. That no longer enrolled. And we saw continuing decline. And between program year 2021 and 2022, there was a slight uptick in terms of enrollment numbers returning. But as you can see here, our enrollments have not quite returned to pre-pandemic levels. And so as a region, we were discussing strategic enrollment strategies and how we can increase our enrollments and better serve our communities. And oftentimes, some of the suggestions are we just need to increase our outreach to K-12 and have more high schoolers dual enroll and have them transfer into our community colleges. Well, that is great, but that's only one part of the puzzle, and it's a limited strategy. And the reason for that is because if you look at population data, this is similar to a lot of regions, but in San Diego County, our government planning agency, SANDAG, they do population estimates so they can plan for regional initiatives and make sure that the community has the correct transportation infrastructure available. And according to their population estimates, our population will grow, but it will be followed by a decline and it will stabilize. And what they projected was that our population growth would not actually come from people giving birth, but rather from people moving here to San Diego County. So this means that if we want to increase enrollments, we really have to be more intentional, about how we serve adult learners and working students. And for me, working students is a very, big proportion of our student population that we really need to focus on. According to the American Association of Community Colleges, 73% of full-time students are working either part-time or full-time. And for our part-time students, that percentage is even higher, 82%. That means about 4 out of 5 of our part-time students are working. And because they're managing work, school, and other life obligations, our community college students take longer than 2 years to complete. A third of our students complete in 4 years, and 43% complete in 6 years. So completion time is a big challenge for our students. On typical time to credential is about 4 to 6 years for a 2-year degree. And this statistic really hits home for me because my husband is part of this group, this adult learner group. He's in his 40s. We have 2 young children under 4, and he's in year 4 of a 2-year degree. Personally, and according to research, we know that to be committed to such a long time for our education, we need to have a strong sense of connection to the campus. I work for the community college system. My husband really believes in the community college mission, and so he's stuck in there despite having to work full time and also helping out with the 2 kids. And so our research shows that because he has that strong connection and our students have a strong connection to their campus, they are more able to be retained and complete their educational journey. So research continues to affirm what many of us already know from experience. Our faculty-student connection is one of the most powerful predictors of student success. And when students build strong relationships with faculty, they're more likely to feel a sense of belonging, they perform better academically, and they persist through challenges because they have somebody there to support them. So we saw that these connections reduce equity gaps and improved retention. And in a lot of our surveys where we asked students, did they take advantage of any student support services? Did they have somebody on campus that they felt a connection to? Those that said yes were more likely than those that did not have a connection to show not only greater satisfaction with their college experience, but they literally said that it was a worthwhile investment of their time and money to go through our community colleges. So in 2020, the Regional Consortium and the Centers of Excellence, we discussed that, okay, we need to increase this connection between our students and our faculty. And we have a changing student population, changing demographics. We have a very diverse student body. So our instructors, to connect with them, they would benefit from different teaching methods that would help address different populations. But at the time, there were a ton of equity initiatives. There were so many professional development programs around equity. There was fatigue around equity training. And so what we did was not say this was not just another equity program. We actually pitched it as a professional development program to teach our instructors and our counselors how to use data to connect with students. So the value proposition was that you would work with your institutional researchers at your campus to learn how to examine data at your courses, and you would use those insights to better connect with your students. And so what the Regional Consortium did was invested strong workforce program funds into a number of areas. So they worked with us and we created assignments that faculty members would complete each month. These assignments were created in collaboration with CTE or Career Ed and the institutional research offices at each of the 10 colleges. Career Education or CTE received project management funds to help coordinate these monthly meetings where faculty members met as a cohort and they completed assignments and looked at data. The IR offices got funding to build dashboards and help faculty interpret course level data for these assignments that we created. The really unique thing about these dashboards is that it was specific to each individual faculty member that participated in the institute. So because it's their data, it was more meaningful for them. And so they were more interested in reviewing it. And because of that engagement, and it was a very intense training program, they met monthly, they had discussions with their cohorts, and they completed these assignments and created an action plan. So the action plan was supposed to be a result of all of the insights that they had as a result of these meetings and these assignments. And so the faculty received a $2,000 stipend at the end of the training program for doing all of this work. So I talk a lot about the assignment, but what was it? So I'm going to give you a very simple example of what it is. There's a lot more to it, but just for the sake of the presentation, I will walk you through it quickly so that we can get an idea of what it was. So let's say that I've taught a class for 10 years, and every year I get great ratings on ratemyprofessor.com. And so I joined this professional development program, and I think, yeah, I'll do it, and it should be fine. Let's look at the data and see what happens. So in the assignment would ask me, what are the demographics in your course? Are they higher or lower than your overall college? And so I would manually write in, well, over the past 10 years, almost every class I had 90% Asian or Pacific Islander like me, and the remaining 10% were Hispanic or Latinx students. Interesting. They're definitely not matching my overall community college enrollments. And then looking at the demographics of gender, we know that gender is not binary, but again, for the purpose of this exercise, I looked at males and females in my courses, and I had about a 50-50 split. So great, I'm pretty on par with community college enrollment, pretty representative of the college itself. But this was enrollment. And at the end of my course, it turns out that of all the men that were in my course, only 60% of them retained, and 100% of my females stayed in. So what that tells me is that I'm really great at attracting women, Asian women, and helping them complete. But for everybody else, maybe I'm not so great in my teaching methods that connect with other types of individuals or diverse populations. So the assignment also asked me, well, let's take a look at your assessments. What are you doing week by week? So maybe in the first week, I provided a writing assignment. I make students do a writing assignment in the second week. And then I find out that by the second week, a ton of my students drop out. I started off with 30, and now I'm down to 15. So now that I see these trends happening every single year, maybe it's not my students who have these life challenges and they don't show up to class. Maybe it's something I'm doing in the classroom that's pretty off-putting. So these examples just show that a lot of our faculty members discovered disproportionate outcomes and retention challenges for themselves. And it was very emotional. One of our Faculty Institute participants said this, and for me, every time I read this, I always feel so emotional about it because it shows that the faculty member really cared about their student. This individual said that one of the things I noticed with my own data, I don't have a lot of African American students. I had three of them in one class, and I ended up with one in the end. I went back and found out that they dropped off after 2 weeks. I never really looked at the data before, and I really care about my students. Seeing the data to this day, it bugs me that the 2 students dropped out. It really hit me at the core of my teaching. I'm always saying that I care about my students, but those 2 students, they dropped out and I didn't even notice. So faculty members would meet monthly and share these findings with their cohort. Again, very emotional, sometimes situations, but it broke down silos. You have institutional researchers in these monthly meetings helping faculty understand the data of their courses. You have career education or CTE helping guide the discussions. And then you have faculty from various disciplines sharing teaching practices with one another. And I want to wrap up with what changed. So now our faculty members are normalizing life challenges in their course materials or reworking their syllabus to include soft deadlines. So instead of this is when you should turn it in, here's a recommended due date. And if you have any challenges managing both work and school, come talk to me. Other faculty members are making space for one-on-one check-ins. They're bonding with their students, or they're integrating counseling services directly into courses. So now they're partnering with support services, and if they need a break, maybe they're sick that week, they would have a counselor come in and talk to students through career services. We've also seen instructors use open source materials to reduce costs, and they offer multiple ways for students to show what they learned. One method I thought was really neat was that they would use peer teaching methods and have a student explain the class concept and teach the class that day to show that that student understood the material. And then others posted weekly announcements with reminders and encouragement. You know, I have two little kids, I have a busy job, and sometimes I just need that little reminder, oh, that assignment's due, right? So that's what our faculty members were doing. Not only that, but several of them now offer technology orientation or video tutorials for Zoom and Canvas and so forth. And the reason why they do that is because they realize that some of their students never experience online teaching. This was one of our faculty alumni from the program, and he stood up there sharing his experiences and what he took away from the institute. And when he presented information to his students and said, "Hey, you can find all of this online," one of his students was formerly incarcerated, and she raised her hand and said, "What is online?" She didn't know how to access the internet. And so, with that kind of experience with the different types of students we go through, our instructors are really changing the way that they're interacting with our students and updating their course materials to be universally understood by everyone. And so to date, we've had 667 completions. And when we look at unduplicated students or unduplicated participants, we are closer to 466. We have one more cohort, so I'm sure that number will go over 500. But essentially, all of our instructors said that, not all, 90 to 96% of the instructors that went through this said that they felt engaged in conversations with their cohort. We broke down silos, right, between deans, researchers, and faculty. They now use student outcomes data to inform their teaching, and their ability to meet the learning needs of culturally diverse students has increased. So we are very proud of this professional development program that we were able to provide to our faculty. And we have one more cohort coming up, so I'm very excited to wrap that one up as well. But thank you very much for letting me share that. And I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Tina. It's so inspiring. And I kind of wish I was a faculty member that got to go through that process when you first described it to me. It sounds awesome. And I'm such a nerd about data. Like, that sounds so cool to have that concrete information and then be able to translate it to those soft things with the students, those soft skills of relationship building is really awesome. So I've got a couple of questions here, but before I jump into that, just to make note, I know there were some questions from our first presentation, and right now our folks from the LA region are answering them. You just have to go to the answered tab to see the responses to your questions. And so we are currently answering them as we go. So just look out for that in case your question did not get answered. But back to Tina. How has the Faculty Institute influenced institutional policy or college-wide practices beyond the individual classrooms? Has there been any changes because of that?
Yeah, I believe we've developed a culture of a caring campus, essentially, right? And we naturally do that by using research and data to connect better with our students. We've been hearing a lot of faculty members, even after they finish the program, continue to work with their institutional research offices and say, "Hey, I examined this course I taught in the institute. Can you help me look at data for a different course?" And then they would also become data coaches at their campuses and teach other faculty members, "Hey, did you know that we have this resource at the institutional research office?" It's a heavy lift because our IR offices are doing a lot. But because we provided that, the regional consortium provided that initial investment to the IR offices, they were able to create dashboards. And so they've been updating the dashboards for data for faculty members that want to look at different courses.
Amazing. Thank you. We've got a question again. What's the regional investment for the Institute?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that the regional strong workforce funds that the regional consortium invested went to stipends. So each college was allowed to have a cohort up to 25 faculty members. So that's 2,000 per faculty member, so 50,000 in stipends per college. We have 10 colleges in our region, right? So 10 times 50,000. And then they also provided 25 to 50,000 for the IR and CTE offices to create all of the data dashboards and to do all that project management because the faculty members got met with each of the groups. And so all that facilitation also received investment. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate you sharing all this amazing work, and it's so inspiring to see the data like in use and really making a big difference, and such a huge impact with the hundreds and hundreds of faculty. That's so cool. But it's time for us to transition to our next presentation, and I am thrilled to introduce Eleni Economides Gastis, Journalism Department Chair at Laney College and co-president of the Journalism Association of Community Colleges. A former Bay Area News Group reporter, Eleni transformed Laney's student newsroom into the Citizen, overhauling curriculum, lab spaces, which she'll show us in her presentation, and advisory committees to align with industry practice. Her leadership earned her the Society of Professional Journalists Beverly Keys Educator Award. Amazing. And she's passionate about the equity-driven, innovative teaching methods that engage students in real-world journalism. Please join me in welcoming Eleni Economides Gastis.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure, particularly to be here with so many folks who are doing so much good student-centered work. So it's wonderful to be here on the internet with everyone. I'm Eleni. I'm excited to introduce you today a little bit of information about my department. Don't have all the answers, but I've done some cool stuff that I want to share. So just a little background before I get started, just about Laney College and Peralta Community College District. If you're not familiar, we have a 4-college district, Oakland, Alameda, and Berkeley in Northern California. We're serving roughly 16,000 students. About 60% of our college programs are CTE at Laney, and we are lucky to have the only journalism program in the district, which is a huge asset. And so I really embarked on this revitalization in fall 2019, doing what I could to create something really solid for future generations. And part of that inspiration that I had as a journalist, as a former reporter, thinking about kind of the current state of journalism, right? We have Daphne Caruana Galizia here, a Maltese journalist who investigated corruption famously, who made the point of saying how journalists and free media play an absolutely essential role in any functioning democracy. And what we've seen is the slow or maybe quick erosion of journalism in society. So 3,300 local newsrooms have shuttered since 2005. 206 American counties are currently without any news source, complete news deserts. And so this loss of local news really has a devastating effect on democracy. And I believe, and I continue to believe, that student media is the pipeline that can strengthen our future and fuel democracy. So you'll see, these are some of my students. You'll see them, infused throughout this presentation. I started off with some goals. So aligning the department to industry directly, as it is a CE program. Not a lot of folks know that. Giving students real-world skills, contributing directly to local news and these news deserts and a lack of coverage that I discussed, to inspire and empower students to cover local government and also their communities, providing students opportunities to build their portfolio before they even attempt to enter the workforce, and also to update a newsroom just to create like this really modern industry environment. So the first goal in aligning with industry was when I came in, we did not have an industry advisory board. And journalism was really considered kind of more on the liberal arts side than it was on the CE side, when really we straddled both. So I called up some friends that I had in the industry and have created a wonderful advisory board with First Amendment attorneys, with editors, with reporters, with public relations professionals, really like a broad spectrum of folks who can inform our curriculum. So one of the first things that I did, and this is a little known fact, I think we tend to think of our students in community college as 18 years old and fresh-eyed out of high school. In Laney, in particular, a lot of our students are in the range of 25 to 55, but it doesn't stop there. I've had 73-year-old students, I've had 82-year-old students. I had one student was a psychologist with a PhD. She said, Lenny, this is the road that I never traveled. This was always my passion. So being able to have a certificate there so that we can also honor students who are coming back to explore their passion, might not necessarily be interested in transfer. I rooted the curriculum in Society of Professional Journalists standards, really, including industry expectations. I teach ethics based on the Society of Professional Journalists model, which, as we all know, might not be perfect, but is definitely, the guiding light for most professionals. I work with the students to create a rebranding of the publication from the Laney Tower, which was very Laney centric, to the Citizen. We created a mission statement. We had a whole retreat and just kind of worked on this and made the difficult decision that day to move to digital only. I got quite a few angry emails from librarians, but I would just say this is what the industry is doing. We're here now. My second goal was to contribute directly to the local news landscape. In the past, there were actually several reporters locally that covered Peralta exclusively. Insane, I know. And most local reporters now don't have the resources to cover education. When we see slashing of newsrooms, when we see layoffs, kind of like the first beat to go is education. And it's such an important beat because it serves as a microcosm for local government in many ways. Um, we also have worked really hard at the Citizen. The students have taken an interest in what I'll call down ballot elections, right? Governing board trustees, something that most voters don't know anything about, right? Allowing the information to, fester so that people can make informed decisions. Teaching students civic engagement basics, things like the Brown Act, right? Essential to democracy. So really, with all of this, we created a local government reporting hub at the Citizen where we're able to uplift and empower the Peralta community, not just the students, but everybody by becoming this trusted news source. And you'll see some of our students are in the crowd here at this board meeting. The third goal I had was to inspire and empower the students, right? To take this on. Journalism is not for everybody. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation and a lack of media literacy. But I try to do this by focusing on the systems. One of the first lessons that I give is teaching students about the California community college structure, right? What do the two sides of the house look like at a college? What is a dean? What is a vice president, right? What is the board of governors? Focusing on that as like a microcosm of looking at a system so that they can understand things like municipal government. Including public meetings. So for us, we looked at the board of trustees at Peralta as part of the curriculum. We have an agenda review. Every time a new agenda comes out, students go through the agenda, they look at the items, they understand what it means, because guess what? It replicates other legislative bodies. And we use course assignments to show journalism in action. I've created some things like scavenger hunts, and other activities that put students at the forefront of information gathering in a very democratic way. The other goal I had is to provide opportunities for students. So I'm kind of vicious about this. You'll see here on the fourth bullet point, I intrusively promote student wins. And I think anybody from my campus or district will tell you this. Making sure that every good thing that they do is out there because it really is incredible. And through this, we've been able to partner with local, regional, and national journalism organizations for networking and support. We go to awards shows, we go to conferences, we make ourselves present. We have branded merch that we bought with strong workforce money. So we're just infusing ourselves everywhere. We've partnered with local news outlets for internship, mentorship, and fellowship opportunities. I'm big on paying students. As we saw in the previous presentation, so many of our students are working in addition to going to school. It is really expensive out there, particularly if you're an adult with a family, as we know many of our students are. So ensuring that they have paid opportunities. No coffee fetching over here. Increasing visibility and marketing with promotion of student work as much as possible. And I also make it a point to apply for every single award possible, and that has worked out well. I'll explain in a minute. And lastly, you'll see our updated facilities here for goal number 5. So we had a newsroom that had some questionable carpet from 1969, literally. We're able to get new flooring, new paint, some new furniture. You'll see like we have a smart board now. So we're able to have like modern teleconferencing, just like any functioning newsroom would. And students often will come into the newsroom and say, "Oh my God, this doesn't even look like Laney College." And that's so, heartening to hear because that's exactly what I wanted. So we have had quite a few wins, and you'll see my lovely students here on the left in some more photos. So local, regional, and national awards. So students won the Breckner Center Freedom of Information Award for their Peralta security coverage in 2023. They've won, they were finalists for the Society of Professional Journalists Mark of Excellence Award, competing against Stanford. Paid partnerships with Oakland Side, Berkeley Side, Cal Matters, OnSpec. It is particularly exciting as well when students get, they scoop other outlets, meaning they have the story first. So one of our reporters last semester was able to scoop ESPN on an NBA retiree being hired at College of Alameda, and also hat tips, right? Folks from the industry saying, "Hey, that was a great report. That was amazing." We have developed this really cool investigative reporting brand. And the articles that the students have been writing because of this work have really sparked conversation and change, not only at our district, but statewide. Folks have asked them to comment on, let's say, campus security models. They've become experts on transgender athletes, on Black serving institutions, getting invited to talk to radio hosts about the work that they've done. They have, of course, transferred. Recently, our co-editor-in-chief was accepted to graduate school in UC Berkeley with a full ride. We have our former editor-in-chief was just hired in South Carolina, is doing some amazing reporting there, investigative reporting. Around election time, we have 26,000 views on some articles, and folks from the community writing students notes saying, "Oh my God, I had no idea what a trustee even is. You helped me figure that out," which is particularly impressive. And I've also been able to do some fundraising on the side, talking about the students, the work they do, their lives. I've been able to raise about $40,000, including a very generous $25,000 endowment for our student editors moving forward. So the stories have had an impact. I won't get into too much detail because I know we're a little short on time. But there's, a couple different stories that have sparked some attention. Of course, all the coverage, the endorsements students have done for our Chancellor Search trustees, our coverage around security, our coverage around a business that was flipping Peralta classes overseas and selling them to students. Some really impactful stories. And then also with the help of my advisory board, I've been able to create some industry aligned courses. So data journalism, for example, this is taught by Dan Kopp, who is the editor of data projects at the San Francisco Chronicle, runs a large team. This is the only class that you can take in the California Community College system, and one of the only ones you can take in the nation that's less than $1,500. It's just not available. So in terms of industry professional development, we're also fulfilling a need. And also investigative reporting, which closely aligns with our brand and is taught by a world-renowned investigative reporter who also serves on our advisory committee. So I know I talked a lot, and please feel free to reach me if you have additional questions. I'll stop sharing now and pass it back to Mari.
Thank you so much, Eleni. So much good and inspiring information. And I love the work that your students are doing. It's so needed, as you mentioned, of what the impetus was for developing this program, that there's such a desert in local news, but it's so integral to our democracy. So thank you for sharing that. We do have time for one question. So one of the questions, and it kind of touched on something I wanted you to mention too, because I know in our initial conversations, you talked about that because you can get grant funding and fund your programs, but I know you've done a lot of work around industry partnerships, like, tooting the horn of your students to make sure that's out there. But how have you, I know you mentioned that now you've been able to get endowments or donations for your program. So how did you build that kind of structure that you have even more sustainable funding through other sources besides just grant funding?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that there's a secret sauce necessarily. I think I've kind of showed up in the right spaces at the right time. My initial large donations came in through an event where I was asked to speak for Cityside, which was an ongoing partnership. And then coming there, speaking about my students, the work that they're doing, there were some folks that wanted to donate. And then another very generous family with a pioneering, woman journalist donated the endowment as well to our department that was outstanding. And I'm lucky that we were one of the departments that was chosen. But I would say the opportunities come the more that you put yourself out there and going to industry events and making sure everybody knows that you have a program, no matter what it is, if it's welding or carpentry or whatever CTE program you have, that folks know that you're there, that they know the stories of your students, and that they see the work of your students. I think it goes a long way.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that and those insights too, and creative solutions that you've come up with for your program as well. All right. Well, I just want to thank you, Eleni. I want to thank all of our fabulous presenters today for sharing their expertise and inspiring new ideas. Got some chills a few times in this presentation, so thank you so much. And to everyone joining us on the webinar today, we will be sure to share the recording and the contact information in the follow-up email as well to help you keep the conversation going. As we near the end of our time together today, please take a minute. It's my one ask of all the participants today, of all the attendees today. Take a moment to complete our post-webinar survey. Manuela is going to share it in the chat. There's a link. It only takes a couple minutes to complete, but it's your official exit ticket. You know, that's what we do as instructors. We give our students exit tickets, so we're going to practice what we preach here. But just, it's a way to ensure that you'll be first to receive registration details, be first in line to snag those limited lunch tickets, while supplies last, for webinar 2 in our series that is slated for August 28th. And as you can see, we've got some more exciting topics, very much aligned with the Chancellor's 2030 vision for success. And our next one for August 28th is Healthcare and Public Services. So you don't want to miss it. And while you're filling out that exit ticket survey, I just wanted to share a little bit more about Workforce Innovation Labs. I know we had a couple questions about who we are. So, being part of conversations like this one today is exactly why we do what we do at Workforce Innovation Labs. There's so many great initiatives, example of our speakers today, but there are a lot of initiatives that just don't get off the ground. And it's not for lack of vision, but because there's just not enough bandwidth to execute, right? It can be such a catch-22. It can be a really heavy lift. You need bandwidth and capacity to build the bandwidth and capacity for those programs. But, at Workforce Innovation Labs, that's a service that we can help and we can come in and support that. Whether you've secured funding or still navigating that process, we can help fill that early stage capacity gap, building teams, launching programs, and connecting the dots between industry, education, curriculum, and community. That might look like any combination of strategic planning, stakeholder meetings, event design, project management, outreach campaigns, or playbook development, whatever it takes to really move that project from idea to true impact. And I like to think that we do that with a lot of creativity and fun. I really love my job here at Workforce Innovation Labs, and I enjoy the work that we do because it is work worth doing and it's really meaningful. So, it was co-founded by Audrey Libador and Xavier Nazario, who I introduced at the beginning. Here at Workforce Innovation Labs, they bring a combined 40 plus years of workforce development experience that has supported over 35 community colleges across California and counting, turning initiatives into success stories. So if you have a project or need a partner to help you move it forward, feel free to connect. Here's our contact information. You can check out our website at workforce-innovate.com to get an idea of some of the projects that we're working on, the work we've done. You can follow us on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Our emails are here, and we'll also share our contact info in the follow-up email. But thank you everyone who's already completed the survey. We got a few trickling in. Be sure to complete it before the end. But we're so grateful for your time and your thoughtful feedback. We know how busy things are in this season right now in May, and we truly appreciate you sharing your lunchtime with us. We hope the webinar offered some meaningful takeaways you can bring back to your campus and that it serves as just the beginning of this conversation. But we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.